Hey, thanks for watching the Chen Dynasty. It's Mikexingchen. Throughout 5,000 years of Chinese history, Buddhism, Confucianism, and Taoism has been the pillar of traditional Chinese culture, regardless of the dynasty. And these belief systems were practiced by everybody from the emperor to the common folk and has impacted every aspect of their daily lives. And although people's lives were simple, they were happy. And nowadays, although we are surrounded by convenience everywhere we go, people just seem more stressed and unhappy. So for this video, I went and found 5 teachings from Buddha Shakyamuni that may be helpful in this modern world. But first, a little background. Around 2,600 years ago, Buddha Shakyamuni, or Siddhartha Gautama as he was known, was born in a small kingdom in modern-day Nepal. Born a prince and died a teacher, Siddhartha Gautama in his lifetime would seek, journey, and arrive at the path of what is perhaps the most storied spiritual enlightenment known to man. An enlightened path where the very cornerstone of Buddhism now stands. A lot of people might mistakenly think the Buddha refers to a particular person. Actually, the word Buddha, Sanskrit in its linguistic origin, is an ancient Nepalese word which translates to enlightened one or awakened one. And because Buddhism believes that there were many enlightened beings throughout history, there is no the Buddha. Instead, there are many Buddhas. But in the modern world, Buddha often refers to Buddhism founder Siddhartha Gautama, and many people believe him to be the first Buddha. But actually, according to the historical Buddhist text, the Chronicle of Buddhas, Gautama Buddha was preceded by 24 Buddhas, the very same Buddhas who prophesied the Nepalese prince's eventual Buddhahood. Old stories tell of Buddha Gautama as the most perfect Buddha. Soon after attaining true enlightenment, Buddha Gautama saw a vision. In it, the Buddha saw the whole of humanity as a bed of lotus flowers, with some of the flowers still sunken into the mud, while others were emerging from it, and with some at the point of flowering into a full bloom. With this vision, the Buddha came to a realization that much like the bed of lotuses, the world is filled with people who can unfold into themselves great potential and happiness, if only with a little help. And so Buddha Gautama dedicated all his life and energy in teaching Buddhism and everything that it holds true until this very day. All of this in a profound effort to help people unfold in themselves the great enlightened life we all should be aspiring to live. And more timeless than ancient, what follows in this video are some of Buddha Gautama's most prominent teachings on living a purposeful life. Number 1, all experiences are preceded by mind, having mind as their master created by mind. Recorded in the Dhammapada, a collection of the Buddha's sayings in verse form, the Buddha Gautama speaks of the mind as the master of everything that is ever experienced. The mind as the absolute ruler of the realm of the perceived and sensed reality. He also said the mind is everything, what you think you become. But with this acknowledgement is an understanding that the mind without stillness tends to be all too disobedient and undisciplined. This has become especially true in this hyper-modern era where the internet together with mobile gadgetry freely allow an endless armada of digital distractions to break through and conquer the regions of the human brain, all with a single touch of a button. Studies has shown internet addiction shares the same impulse control symptoms with pathological gambling, and much like any other forms of addictions, this preoccupation with the digital world has typically resulted in impaired real-life relationships, excessive solitary seclusion, and clinical depression and anxiety, among others. So master your mind or let it enslave you. It is no surprise that the Buddha has found true awakening in controlling the mind. Meditation, for example, the simple ritual of stilling one's thoughts is probably the first thing that comes to mind when people try to draw a picture of what Zen Buddhism is all about. In the Buddhist text, Salika Sutta, Gautama Buddha says, meditate, do not delay, lest you later regret it. Also in the Dhammapada, Gautama Buddha speaks of a disciplined mind bringing happiness. Buddhism believes that through the focused practice of meditation, one can keep the mind still enough so the path to enlightenment becomes a little clearer. In our day-to-day reality, of course, it doesn't even have to be about enlightenment. At the end of the day, this patient, ancient practice in stillness allows us to slow our pace down and catch our breath, if only for a little while. Next, to support mother and father, to cherish wife and children, and to be engaged in peaceful occupation. This is the greatest blessing. In this culture of instant and excessive gratification, unabashedly normalized by both traditional media and social media platforms, makes it all too easy for people, you and me for the most part, to forget things that once held obvious importance, little things that once made room for us to feel truly blessed. Gautama Buddha speaks of growing a heart that's always grateful to the little things, in being able to support one's parents, in being given the life and the chance to cherish one's partner and children, and in cultivating the capacity to make an honest living. As for making a living, the Buddha in his introspection arrived at a realization that the more conscious and aware we are in our choice of work, the more thankful we tend to be. But being conscious and aware of what we do for a living goes beyond just recognizing our moral obligation to avoid work that poses to be detrimental both to ourselves and to other people, such as engaging in acts that's criminal in nature. Like so many things that the Buddha teaches, finding the right livelihood is about finding and nurturing peace in the things that we do. Buddha Gautama theorized that the feeling of thankfulness is inherent to work that does not inhibit the capacity to realize a sense of peace in both the workers and the people that surround them. Thich Nhat Hanh, a celebrated Vietnamese Buddhist monk and peace activist, expands on this concept further by pointing out that, for instance, a butcher becomes a butcher not only because he chooses to become one, but more importantly because there has grown a real need for people to buy neatly packaged meat from the markets. It is in this sense that finding peace in one's work can be understood as both a personal and collective effort. Next, the root of suffering is attachment. I couldn't agree more. A core practice in Buddhism is the practice of non-attachment. Attachment, or acquisition as it is described in the Sunakata Sutra, is believed to be the root of stress. Practicing the Buddhist way of non-attachment in most cases doesn't mean abandoning everything we hold dear. Family, friends, home to live in, our jobs, money. Is really about finding peace. Non-attachment in this sense is all about being able to truly experience the good things life has to offer, and at the same time being aware and accepting that everything in life happens for a reason. In the Dhammapada, the Buddha mentions all conditioned things are impermanent. When one sees this with wisdom, one turns away from suffering. Next, radiate boundless love towards the entire world, above, below, and across, unhindered, without ill will, without enmity. The Dalai Lama, perhaps the most prominent figurehead of Buddhism in the modern world, defines compassion as more of an aspiration than a passive emotion. He says only the development of compassion and understanding for others can bring us the tranquility and happiness we all seek. The Gautama Buddha also said, those who cling to perceptions and views wander the world offending people. Basically, in this internet age, nowhere is misunderstanding more offensive, normalized, and amplified than probably in the YouTube comment section. The anonymity offered by the digital world over time has attracted an endless wave of internet trolls who seem to take genuine pleasure in provoking other people with hateful speech and hasty generalizations. It is precisely because of these faceless enemies born out of anonymity that the conscious practice of compassion has become all the more necessary. Compassion is among the most revered qualities in the teachings of Buddhism. In it, the compassionate is considered to be a highly realized human being. Buddhism, much like most religions in the world, has long since realized that even small acts of kindness help the world at large. While cultivating compassion is one thing, learning to express compassion is in itself a different thing that requires patience and practice. As such, there are two aspects to mastering compassion. First is practicing compassion towards the self, which allows us to forgive ourselves of the faults inherent to us as human beings. Then we seek to appreciate the basic goodness that's common to all people, which in turn allows us to see and connect with the goodness of those around us. By aspiring to be compassionate, we free ourselves from the otherwise unnecessary hatred that breeds from things we don't understand. Next, drop by drop is the water pot filled. Likewise, the wise man, gathering it little by little, fills himself with good. Collected in the Dhammapada, Buddha Shakyamuni speaks of the gradualness in which we are able to understand the true nature of the world. The journey to the forest of awakening has to start somewhere, and always it has to start with a single step. Buddhism believes that that given the inherent interconnectedness of the world, the cultivation and appreciation of goodness happens first in sections, then eventually as a whole. In Buddhism, the word for a community of practitioners is Sangha. More than a word, Sangha is an olden Pali principle embodied in people who are connected by the common work of finding peace, attaining happiness, and arriving at a greater understanding of themselves and the world before them. So there you go, guys. Those are some teachings from Buddha Shakyamuni that you might find helpful in this crazy modern world. And I wanted to do this video because a lot of you have been commenting and sending me messages asking me to do more about the religions of China, and Buddhism is definitely one of the 3 religious pillars of Chinese traditional culture. A couple things I really relate to from the teachings of Buddha Shakyamuni. One is that attachment does really bring you the most stress and most heartache and basically just the most pain. I mean, if you think about the source of most of your stress and unhappiness, it's mainly related to something you really wanted that you can't have or you didn't get, like that job or that car or that person. But Buddhism really teaches that everything happens for a reason, and the people enter your life or don't enter your life for a reason. So maybe not being able to date that one particular guy or gal is just meant to be, and somebody even better and meant for you is going to come along down the road. So what Buddhism is saying is that let things happen naturally. Don't overly attach yourself to one particular thing or person or event or anything. Anyway, guys, if you want to learn more about Buddhist teachings, if you want to learn more about meditation, I'll put some links for you guys in the description box below. All right, thank you all so much for watching this video. I'll see you later.